Gandhi's Passion: The Life and Legacy of Mahatma Gandhi. Stanley Walpert. Preface. For more than half a century, from the day I first stepped foot on Indian soil, February 12th, 1948, the day 1/7th of Mahatma Gandhi's ashes were immersed in waters of Bombay, I have been fascinated by the remarkable life and tragic death of the man Indians call Great Soul, Mahatma, and Little Father, Bapu. Stepping ashore at Bombay's bustling gateway to India, I found myself surrounded by more people than I had ever seen. Millions of white clad mourners headed to Chowpatty Beach, where a glistening white ship bore the urn filled with a portion of Gandhi's remains. As that bright vessel weighed anchor, thousands waded after it in the bay, hoping to touch the Mahatma's ashes before they were swallowed by the sea. At that time, I knew no more about Gandhi than that he was called the father of India, yet had been murdered by an Indian of his own Hindu faith. The many questions raised by what I saw and heard that day changed the course of my life from marine engineering to Indian history. A decade later, when I began teaching at UCLA, I wrote my first book about Gandhi, a fictionalized story of his assassination published as 9 Hours to Rama. Over the next 4 decades, I periodically considered writing the history of Gandhi's life and his leadership of the Indian National Congress. After a year or two of trying in vain to plumb the ocean of Gandhiana with its conflicting currents, however, I returned enthusiastically to teaching, opting to tackle other subjects and less enigmatic lives. Though invariably daunted by Gandhi's elusive personality and the extent of his archive, I kept hoping that greater maturity and deeper knowledge of India would help me to understand the Mahatma's mentality and reasons for his contradictory behavior. After completing my India, A New History of India, Morley and India, Jinnah of Pakistan, Zulfi Bhutto of Pakistan, and Nehru, Triest with Destiny, I decided it was time to return to the challenge of Gandhi. That was 5 years ago, when all 90 volumes of the collected works of Mahatma Gandhi had been published by Navajivan Press in Ahmedabad, where Gandhi had founded his first Indian ashram. On my first visit to the famous Satyagraha ashram, fewer than 5 volumes of his letters and papers were in print, though all letters written by or to him were then being indexed and filed chronologically by his disciples. The daily diaries and biographical works of Gandhi's faithful secretaries, Mahadev Desai and Pyare Lal Nayyar, were by then also in print, as was D.G. Tendulkar's exhaustive 8 volume chronicle entitled Mahatma. After Mahadev's early death, Pyarelal took up his task and published 2 massive volumes called Mahatma Gandhi, The Last Phase. He was still working on another two called Mahatma Gandhi, The First Phase, when he died. Pyarelal's sister, Dr. Shushila Nayyar, one of Gandhi's most intimate disciples, completed her brother's labors the year I dined at her home in Delhi 4 years ago. I almost decided then to abandon my Gandhi once again, feeling that perhaps I had nothing new to add to what was known about the amazing man who called his life an open book, and fearing that at age 68, completing my research and writing might take longer than my lifetime. Then on 11th May 1998, I flew into Delhi to speak to India's International Center and learned that India had just exploded 3 underground nuclear bombs in Pokhran. A few days later, Prime Minister Vajpayee announced, following several further successful explosions, that India had a very big bomb and was a nuclear weapons state. The popular response in New Delhi and throughout most of India was euphoric. Much to my amazement, hardly any Indian voices were raised against so complete a departure from everything Mahatma Gandhi believed in and had tried to teach throughout his mature life. His total faith in non-violent love, Ashima, as the surest path to peace as well as Hinduism's highest religion, seemed forgotten by most of his newly militant, prideful heirs. Hatred can be overcome only by love, Gandhi argued, insisting, let us keep our hearts and hands clean. Then we can ask for justice before the whole world. Arms have to be given up. We cannot protect ourselves with arms. When asked by several Americans whether the atom bomb might not help to universalize Ashima as nothing else can, Gandhi replied, so far as I can see, the atomic bomb has deadened the finest feeling that has sustained mankind for ages. Mankind has to get out of violence only through non-violence. I resolved that May to write my book on the life and legacy of Mahatma Gandhi. I am deeply indebted to many wise friends for sharing their memoirs of and insights into the life of Gandhi with me. My Sanskrit guru and friend, Professor W. Norman Brown, was the first of my teachers to tell me how singularly wise a man Gandhi was. A few years later, when I returned to India in 1957, I was privileged to meet and walk with Mahatma Gandhi's foremost follower, Vinoba Bhave. Our neighbors in Pune, Rao Sahib and Pama Pathwardhan were close friends of Vinoba, and thanks to them, my wife and I were welcomed to join Vinoba's entourage during his Gramdan, gift of village, pilgrimage of southern Maharashtra state on December 23, 1957, my 30th birthday. I vividly recall Vinobaji's unadorned, frail body and totally unaffected, unpretentious spirit, as well as the brilliance of his mind, and I have always felt that meeting and listening to him was as close as I ever came to meeting Gandhi himself. The Pathwardhan brothers often reminisced about Gandhi in our nightly conversations and helped dispel some of the myths and much of the mystery that still shrouds his memory. Jaya Prakash Narayan, another good friend of Rao Sahib, and Achyut Pathwardhan, volunteered to join Vinoba's Jeevandani Gift of Life movement while I was still in India, and I also met him as well as his good wife, who had long been an intimate disciple of Mahatma Gandhi. Dr. Shushila Nayyar, the only other lifelong follower of Mahatma Gandhi, with whom I met in Delhi in 1996, thanks to our mutual friend and Gandhian disciple, D.C. Jha, was much like Vinoba Bhave, totally devoid of pretense, her mind as sharp in its memories of her greatest patient as was her tongue in its defense of his unblemished character. Madame Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit, with whom I enjoyed several teas during the last decade of her life in New Delhi, once told me that Mahatma Gandhi's influence for the good in her life was as great as her adored older brother Jawaharlal Nehru's influence had been. I never met any of the Gandhi sons, but I have recently had the pleasure of speaking at some length with Mahatma Gandhi's two most brilliant grandsons, Dr. Rajmohan Gandhi, whose Good Boatman sketches a sensitive, illuminating portrait of Gandhi's personality and mind, and Ambassador Gopal Gandhi, who was then assisting President K.R. Narayanan, in whose Ashtaprati Bhavan I met him in January 2000, thanks to our good friend, former Prime Minister Inder Kumal Gujral. Over the last 4 decades, I have learned so much about Gandhi from so many scholars and friends that I could not possibly mention or adequately thank all of them for contributing to my understanding of his life and legacy, but must rest consent to name just a few. My dear friend, Professor Stephen Hay of the University of California, Santa Barbara, who has devoted so much of his life to a meticulous study of Gandhi's early life and times, has been most generous and helpful, sharing his excellent published papers and entire library of Gandhiana with me. Thanks to Steve, I have come to appreciate the importance of Jainism to Gandhi's philosophy and have learned many hitherto unknown facts of Gandhi's youth, including the very early age of his marriage. My now departed old friend, Professor Raghavan Iyer, whose seminal work on Gandhi's philosophy first introduced me to him, and his brilliant wife, Professor Nandini Iyer, also helped me to understand better many of Gandhi's complex ideas and his remarkable foresight. I also thank my friend Professor Judith M. Brown for her luminous work on Gandhi's life, focusing so carefully on his political activities and each of his satyagraha campaigns. Soon after I first joined UCLA, I had the pleasure of meeting Professor Joan Bondurant and Margaret Fisher at Berkeley and enjoyed their fine studies of satyagraha. My good friend Professor Sibnarayan Ray visited our campus shortly before editing and publishing his excellent international symposium, Gandhi, India and the World. And I still recall with pleasure several illuminating discussions about Gandhi and his global impact with him and our mutual friend, Professor J. Richard Sisson. The only time I met Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a few years before his assassination when he visited UCLA and we lunched together after his talk at our university religious conference. I knew then, as I better understand now, just how vital and important the influence of Mahatma Gandhi's methods and teachings were to Martin Luther King's life and his faith in non-violent struggle and love for the liberation of all mankind. I owe a special debt of gratitude to Professor J. Kenneth Galbraith, who encouraged me to continue to pursue this study when I had all but abandoned it, and to his dear wife, Kitty, for her warm hospitality in New Fane as well as in Cambridge. I thank my wonderful typist, Jane Bitar, for magically transforming my messy holographs into electronic files. To my original brilliant editor at Oxford, Thomas Libane, who was unfortunately lured to Preston's press prior to my book's completion. I can hardly express strongly enough how much I appreciate his creative editorial labors and constructive criticism. I also thank my new editor, Susan Ferber, for her kind assistance and Oxford's production editor, Jolene Osanka, for her expeditious cooperation. I must thank my most youthful friend, Mimi Perloff, for her unfailing loving kindness. Thanks again to my sons Daniel and Adam, each now practicing in his own way Gandhi's practical philosophy of selfless service, who perhaps inadvertently taught this old man the unique powers of Hima and Satragraha. Finally, to my soulmate, Dorothy, who for almost half a century has taught me, long before I ever realized it, to understand Mahatma Gandhi's passion through her unselfish love, infinite patience, and silent acceptance of every variety of pain, I offer this book as her disciples' gift of love. Los Angeles, July 2000. Stanley Walpert.